heading southbound. I've been hellbound, riding on the midnight train. Going too fast now, think I ought to slow down, standing in the pouring rain.
What's going on, guys? Tristan and Tony back with another episode of the One Hell of a Life Outdoor Podcast.
Let's go. Let's go. That's right. He said Tristan and Tony.
It's been, I think since we've actually sat down and recorded a podcast, it's been about a month. We put them out every week, but we had some banked and all that. So we're happy to be back and super excited to have Mr. Rusty Creasy on the podcast tonight.
What? Give it up. Can we get a drum roll in the back? Let's go, man.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Man, yes, sir. What an honor to have you on tonight. And I know you're a busy man, man. I watch everything you do. And you know, we were talking a little bit off camera over the last few weeks. And, you know, I really appreciate you being flexible with your schedule last week. You know, unfortunately, I got asked to volunteer for storm damage property assessment. So basically just chasing right behind the hurricane. And we were spread thin. The company I work for is one of the biggest names in the business that does disaster recovery and restoration. And Asheville, we all know what's happened there, man. It had us spread thin,
yeah.
I gotta say. So I was like, hey, the military and me said, all right, let's go. You know, and away I went, you know. So, but thanks for rescheduling to this week. We really appreciate it.
Well, I didn't realize that's what you were doing, but that's prayers for all those people affected. That is a horrible, horrible thing. And golly, it doesn't matter if you're in the south, west, north, east. I think everybody who knows how to pray said a little prayer for them people out there. So let's continue to do that. But no, man, I appreciate you having me. Like I said, man, just an old country boy from Arkansas who loves the outdoors and hunting and everything that goes around it. So good to talk with like-minded people.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, you know, I mean, I guess the obvious, you know, the first thing we want to do is if you're new to the sport, you might not know Rusty Creasy, and I'm not throwing any shade at you, Rusty, because
no, you're good.
This guy, y'all, he's one of the biggest names in waterfowl industry. And he's a very humble man. And he won't tell you that he is, but he is. And we're super thankful to get a little bit of his time tonight. And Rusty, if you would, just for people that you know don't know you and stuff, just give a little background about yourself and a little bit of personal side too. You want, and then after that, we're gonna deep dive.
Right. Well, man, just blessed to grow up with an uncle who was the manager of the Coca-Cola Woods and took me under his wing, and a dad and a big brother who all spent time with me and invested in me, and had the honor to after my uncle passed away, had the honor to become the manager at the Coca-Cola Woods for 20 years, 20 seasons, and that's wild. So this would be the first thing I've done. Was a manager at Coca-Cola Woods. That still doesn't sound quite right, but. But anyway, again, man, that's a chapter you can't look past. That place is a special place, and you know, grew up right there. Like I said, my uncle was a manager, and you know, he look, you know, when you talk about being famous in the waterfowl industry, and again, I appreciate that. But look, all I ever strive when I was striving and working, man, I just wanted to make him proud. You know, him looking down at me, just be like, his name was Harvey Shue. He was a well-known dog trainer and just a gentleman and just a great guy and loved him like a dad. And again, man, I did everything to try to make him proud, you know, and my daddy and my brother and everybody who invested time in me. And that's where it all started. And, you know, here I am. Golly, Harvey passed away in 2002. Here I am 22 years later, still just trying to make him proud. You know, my dad passed away in 2018 and you know, that's 6 years, but this deal has grown by leaps and bounds the last 6 years. And I don't really know what this deal is I'm talking about. They say it's a brand, but I don't really know what the heck to do with it. other than just keep pushing and putting out stuff that'll help people who didn't have a harvest year or doesn't have a dad that took them under their wing and taught them the way. So if man, I can do a little YouTube video or Instagram reel or a video and teach a kid or whoever something that'll make him a better hunter, but more importantly, something that maybe makes him a better person, man, then I've done my job. And that's just that's me, man. That's me. I love to help people. I love to get good feedback when something I have done reaches somebody and it makes a difference. But that's the long and short of Rusty. So
that's beautiful, and I think one thing that I've always kind of been cognizant of, and I'm thankful that I have, man, is just that I've had a dad to show me, and a lot of my friends, quite frankly, how to deer hunt mostly my whole life. And you're hitting the nail on the head. There's so many people that want to get into it, or they go on, and I always, I use the Facebook group thing as I'm sure you've seen some of the innocent questions that go on in Facebook groups, Rusty, or you may not have, but people get on social media and just be like, hey man, like, whatever, this is me blowing a duck call, and what do you guys think? And then just the comments are just,
you can almost predict it. You're like somebody on the Arkansas Waterfowl page is like, hey guys, I'm coming from South Carolina hunting public land this year. What's up?
You just
right.
You just go, oh, you almost kind of like grimace back a little bit and say, I'm going to wait and see what this looks like in a week.
Right.
Right. Yeah. It's probably not going to age well.
No.
But as far as people getting on there and bashing, whether it's out of state, new hunters, whatever, like, shame on you.
Mm-hmm.
Shame on you for doing that.
Yep.
And look, I'm 40. I'll be 46 here in about 2 weeks. I was growing up, you were held accountable for running that mouth, and if you run your mouth with the wrong person, you got punched in the mouth or in the face.
Yep.
And and look, I'm not saying that's what needs to happen, but maybe it does.
Yeah.
You need to be held. You need to be held accountable for what you say. And dude, honestly, if you can't say something.
Listen up, guys. Waterfowl season will be here before you know it, so book a hunt today. Williamson Outfitters offers exceptional duck hunting along Florida's Forgotten Coast, targeting redheads, bluebills, buffleheads, canvasbacks, and much, much more. Lodging and fishing packages are also available. Mention the One Hell of a Life podcast when booking and get 15% off your next trip. Spots are filling up fast, so call or text Captain Chris at 850-251-8650 or visit floridaducks.com.
Nice to somebody, just don't say nothing at all.
Right.
It's not rocket science. I mean, my mama and my grandma and my daddy taught me that from the time I could understand what they were saying. Look, you can't say nothing nice, say something nice, don't say nothing at all. It's really, really simple.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's so crazy that a cartoon rabbit taught us so much, right?
That's exactly right. I mean, and it's just, look, again, not everybody has got a dad, an uncle, or grandpa who taught them how to blow a duck call.
Yep.
So like, if they don't have anybody, then who are they going to get? So
right,
man, be a light and be that guy that helps somebody instead of cussing at them or whatever. Ask them to come in there and hunt with you, or spend a little time with them, teach them the right way.
Yep. Now, why don't you go ahead and this sets it up perfect. So, if y'all haven't seen, and you want to talk about raw and innocent, if y'all haven't seen Rusty sitting with this young man the other day, that he was teaching how to blow a duck call. Tell me what that was like from your perspective, because I know you were just doing your thing, but whoever picked up the phone and recorded you or whatever, that was special, man, and that was about as raw as it gets.
It was, and I have been blessed to do that a lot, but look, before I go into it, I gotta give credit to Rick Dunn, because although I wasn't a young kid, Rick Dunn pretty much took me the same way and taught me the right way to blow a duck call. The owner of Echo. So I mean, basically picture that with I don't know, 25-year-old guy, Rick working with me. But no, it is
a legend.
Rick Dunn is a legend, no doubt, and such a humble, just a good Christian man.
Mm-hmm.
The world needs more Rick Dunns.
Yes, sir.
But and that's another one that I try to make proud. But all that being said, man, that kid. It's just anytime, and again, look, it still ain't really. It still doesn't set in when a kid wants to have his picture made or wants you to sign his hat or whatever. But man, to be able to sit there and work with a young man like that or a little girl or whatever, I'm a girl dad, so I don't get a chance to work with me little boys. I usually try to run them off when they show up at my house. But but with that being said, when I do get to work with a boy, the part of me comes out that I never had a boy, so. It is special to me, and for the dad to sit there and watch, and just see his son get a little bit better, and
he did
I don't
too.
know, man. He did.
He followed instruction really well.
He did, and it's just, that's the good stuff. That's the good stuff. But hey, that might have made that kid's day, but it made mine just as much, if not more.
You got that right.
It's just special, man. That's what we put here for, and I don't know. That's the best part about this platform that I've been able to build is being able to help others and get that affirmation that what you're doing is right. Those messages. I did that Be Real video with Realtree. They featured me and basically told my story and a lot of the same things I've covered already with y'all growing up, my uncle and all. And after it hit YouTube and people started watching it, I had several messages. I had one from a mom of 2 boys, and she's like, my boys watched your video, and she said they have, and all it was just, thanking the people who do stuff for you and how trust is everything. And basically, man, she just said, look, since they watched that video, they've been different kids. They've been more respectful. They've
Wow.
And I'm like, all because of a 10-minute video, and again, teaching a kid to blow a duck call is great. Teaching how to plant rice in the woods or whatever is great. But man, when you can teach a kid a life lesson and make them a better human being, that's the good stuff.
This just hit me in a different way that you guys will, anybody listening to this is going to agree with me, I think. But, I just sat there and thought about the fact that, for example, and I'm not going to dive down a political hole tonight, but for example, everybody's aware there's some crazy things going on with the country, and there's a lot of left and right and left and up, down, center, whatever you want to call it. And, one thing that we're really good at as ambassadors of the outdoors is that we tend to identify things that we protect as a group, like the base of where this all started. And it started with us protecting our land and our waterfowl, our all game that was commercialized. I remember my stepdad telling me in the 50s where you'd hunt Southern Illinois for a week, and when the guys would come back, they said they saw deer track. They couldn't believe it. Can you imagine that? In Illinois, that deer hunting was outlawed? I mean, that's nuts. And where I'm going with all this is that, one thing that we, as a group, I think, just from the folks that taught us everything that they've taught us, is that, man, there's some things that aren't right. And when that's not right, we're going to stand up and defend it. No different than we do as a patriot of our country. When you love something, just like no different than, I remember one time a guy got out of his car and started walking back to me when Tristan was a baby. And I told him, if you got any closer, he's going to wish he didn't. It just, that instinct, pops in. And I don't know, right, man, that's just kind of hit me from a different way tonight as I'm listening to you talk.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more. And I said, we hunters, you got the antis who are against our way of life, but there's no one that hates to see a deer hit on the road more than me.
Right.
There's nobody that hates to see a crippled duck. There's no, sure, we shoot our fair share of game, but man, we're the best conservationists because we want it to thrive.
Yeah.
100%.
So, yeah, I agree with you.
Yep. So let's kind of step back a little bit, and I'll tell you this just from an innocent perspective was, imagine going, if you haven't done this yet, and I know there's thousands of you that are thinking about it because we thought about it at one point, and that is you want to go to the great state of Arkansas to duck hunt. And one of the first things on your checkoff list is crossing that bridge and seeing the sign that says entering to Arkansas. Every duck hunter's video that's ever went across it has videoed it to the point of, we've done it, but it's something special, and I've always talked about, I grew up in the state, lucky enough, and we talked a little bit off air about my mom. I'm not going to go down that tonight. A lot of our listeners know, but, I know it from the perspective of being in the best state for deer hunting during a point of time, especially in a 3-county area, where what it feels like for it to be your state and everybody else is coming to it. And, there's a lot of people out there that still today, whether it's private or public, they're like, this is my state. You can't hunt here. And they act like when they pee on it, that it's theirs, like they're marking their territory. Mm-hmm. And, one thing I've loved about people from Arkansas that's a drastic difference than the deer hunting world, the bow hunting world in that regard, is that I'll never forget that the first time that we ever went and hunted public land, one of the big name famous WMAs in the area. And, we were busting our butts. We'd walk 48 something miles because the boat broke down, scouting, and only because we just kept in our heads getting drilled from Dennis and Billy about, don't come out here to hunt unless you're going to put most of your time in scouting, and I'd never took a different approach in deer hunting. So I related to that, but I'll never forget that after all that grinding and stuff, us going and find this isolated boat ramp, and we thought, man, nobody knows where this is, It so innocently thought that. And here come this guy, and Davey, big shout out to you. And this guy knew we were from out of state, saw the plate. We looked confused, I'm sure. And it just stuck his hand out and just said, hey, man, you guys trying to hunt public land? He's like, hold up a minute, and just kind of took us by the hand and helped us out, and from that one experience, we've got a relationship. We've been in folks' weddings that have been a result of that, and the relationships. Y'all are incredible people. Big shout out to Arkansas tonight, because that is not the way it works when you come to bow hunt deer in public land in Illinois.
Right. Well, and all the scenarios may not be quite that welcoming here.
Right.
Yeah. Well, no, we've been shot at.
But I mean, I it's great for the state. It's a special place for sure. But look, I can't be a hypocrite and go to Tennessee and shoot turkeys, or go to Nebraska and shoot whitetails, or go wherever. I can't get mad when people come here because I go do the.
Do you want coffee that doesn't suck? Get the Duck. Dirty Duck coffee is made specifically for the waterfowl enthusiast. Enjoy flavors like Morning Wood, Dark Dynasty, Cinnamon Teal Snickerdoodle, and First Flight to unlock the flavor that you'll enjoy in the blind for years to come. Our friends at Dirty Duck Coffee Company are now offering all Zero Duck 30 followers a 15% discount when you use code ZeroDuck15 on your next order.
Same thing.
Right.
So, I don't understand the ones that do get upset. If you buy a hunting license elsewhere and you go elsewhere to hunt, you're a hypocrite, and that don't cut it.
Right.
In my opinion, and that's the way I look at it.
Yep.
But yeah, overall, everybody's. everybody's good, man. I mean, you look, you run into a turd no matter where you go or what you do. You can be nice to everybody. You're always going to have somebody that's just that guy, you know, don't be that guy kind of deal. But I'm glad y'all have had great experiences and made friends. And I mean, that's what it's about. Like I said, we got enough people against our way of life without us fighting amongst ourselves.
Well, we wouldn't even be talking to you, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
I mean that's how crazy the spiral goes, right?
I think one of the most important things is like when you trying to, like, before you go in whatever state it is and do what you're trying to do. It could be you're trying to go elk hunt for the first time in Utah because you pulled a tag or whatever. Like, I think the best thing you can do is like try to understand like how things work, and understand, look up the regulations and understand, when you can be in certain areas and when you can't. And
how do they play the game there?
Well, just being respectful of other hunters, is what it comes down to.
Yep.
Because if you do that, if you just follow that one rule and try to be respectful of other hunters, like 90% chance you're probably not going to have any issues.
Well, tell them what we did the very first day as an example. We didn't even get out of our vehicles and do anything until like 10:30.
Right.
And we only knew we only had an hour and a half to walk and scout, but we were not going to be that guy.
Mm-hmm.
So common sense does come a little bit into it, but like I've told people all the time, and I don't know if you've noticed this any different, Rusty, but what I have found is most of the time, if you take the side of good, if you see somebody sitting up next to you too close, chances are they don't know that that's too close. In most cases, they're probably new. Very rarely do you actually run into the person that just says, like you see on YouTube, that, is a complete, jerk or something like that, and more than likely, like you said earlier on, is just, hey man, come over here and hunt with us, and we had the opportunity to do that, not to plug us or nothing, but we turned a 6-man hunt into a 16-man hunt on public land during teal and shot, don't let me get the number wrong, Tristan, 128 birds. No, 78 birds. I'm sorry. God. I'm sorry, Rusty. I wreck it every time.
The reason I laugh is because we just talked about this a few podcasts ago.
We did, and I wrecked it.
Yeah. It was
I said 4,028.
As he gets older, the number is going to keep going up.
The fish keeps getting bigger, Rusty. The fish keeps getting bigger, Rusty. I'm sorry. No, but what was it? It was 76 birds.
It was something like that. It was like...
in 2 days.
Yeah, we limited out 2 days in a row, and then that one group limited out the first day, and then they didn't hunt the second day. So but it was in Georgia. You don't find that very often.
No, we found literally. They say there's no public land that's left unseen, and we found one out in the middle of a razor grass marsh desert in southeast Georgia. And I'll tell you this, just to give you the 20-second commercial on it. Number one, when we got after the first day, we went to the closest gas station, the smallest little podunk gas station you can imagine. And the old man asked me if there was a war going on over there.
Something like that.
He said, and but what happened is that we thought we found a spot that nobody would ever find, and we had 10 guys on 2 mud motors come flying up at midnight, and all the boys looked at me and said, "What are we going to do?" And I said, "We're going to hunt with them." And they was like, "What?" I was like, "Yep, we're going to hunt together, but I'm just going to tell them we beat them here, so they're not walking in there and messing this up. The only reason why they're here is because they did their work, and they deserve to hunt there too." And
right.
And we figured it out, man. And we went in there, and we had to cross you can't tell in the video, but it's called Teal Heaven, is the video. And we're crossing this rim ditch that had dried up, you thought. And this guy reaches down and grabs his dog. That, no kidding. I mean, this swallow you alive, and it's mud. And we worked hard, and thank God a week later the teal were still there, and hundreds and hundreds. I mean, and everybody got their share, and it was just it was an incredible experience. That, quite frankly, if you guys didn't know this, whenever we hired the cameraman for that video, if my wife would have knew about it, it wouldn't. I might have had to pay the truck payment late. But it was like, and it was so scary to do, honestly, from that perspective, being so raw. because I was like, man, I know how teal are, you know. I mean, they could be there today and gone tomorrow, you know. I mean, you know how it is, Rusty. And we had to wait a week, and I already got this guy, and I can't cancel him. And my God, were we blessed. I mean, and then the second day, I remember praying with everybody, and I said, God, please let us have better numbers than we did before. And I remembered saying the day before that, when I prayed with all those other 10 guys, I said, you know, everybody be safe and everything, but, you know, let's focus on, sometimes we forget to put you first. And man, we did, and we said that, and dude, heavenly gates opened, and it was something special, but it was the people.
Well,
it was the people.
I think part of the dynamic for the whole thing, Rusty, is it's, you know, Georgia's not the waterfowl state of the world.
No.
And like, you know, it's not like you're talking South Louisiana or coastal Texas or something. And that's what just kind of made it cool, is that's just not you don't find any amount of birds like that in Georgia very often.
No.
But,
Right. It's not the hotbed.
No.
And then, you know, and you know, the next season we did the same thing. Went back there, and all we saw was, I think we counted 65 sets of gator eyes that night.
There's a lot.
But it was just the experience with those folks, and a big shout out to those guys, because I know they follow us, and some of them are still serving for the Coast Guard. Thank you for your service.
Yep. You know, and to kind of go back to before we get too far down the line, Rusty, you know, one thing I'm curious about, you know, just growing up in Arkansas, you know, we talked to this one old timer that shout out to Mr. Glenn, that he's in his 70s, you know, and he just talks so much about how the landscape has changed over the years, and
never saw goose.
Yeah, just growing up, he said, you know, he never really saw geese, and you know, in the last however many years, you know, geese have showed up in great numbers, as you know, and I just kind of am curious, you know, what have you observed since you were a young child to now, you know, as far as landscape and birds and things like that? What's kind of changed?
Well, I mean, obviously it's a lot more, I hate to use the word commercialized, because that may not be the right word, but like, you know, used to, well, let's go back here. The agricultural practices have changed a ton. You know, used to, everybody tried to have their rice and their beans out, let's just say by Thanksgiving.
Okay.
Well, man, you got people now who have their rice harvested before the end of August, by the 1st of September. And that's huge, because, I mean, they cut it, then they disc it up, and so there's just not near as much food readily available for the waterfowl, whether it's ducks or geese. And then in conjunction with that, you know, look, I mean, you take a farmer, he's going to make him an extra $8,000, $10,000, $20,000 where he can, you know, in the winter for Christmas money. Well, there, you know, used to, you would have several fields that, if it rained, you'd get sheet water or whatever, and there would be different fields that a duck or a goose could go rest in, especially ducks. There was places they could get away from people. Well, man, now, you know, if a farmer can get a pit and they can go shoot, I don't know, 300 or 400 birds out of a field, maybe less, I mean, he's got 10 grand right there all day long around here. So now every field, you know, has got a pit in it, or a layout, you know, or a skid blind or something. And look, I get it. I love to see the sport grow, but with growing, you have some growing pains as well. And I feel like pressure has definitely increased. And again, that's what makes it so important for the private landowners and the private clubs. You know, a lot of public people look at them as a problem holding all the ducks, but let's just take right now. You know, we're sitting here, we've got burn bans, it's powder dust dry everywhere. And the only water that's going to be around if something don't change is going to be pumped water by privately owned clubs. So when we get that Halloween push here in a couple of weeks, we always do. If you don't have any water to catch a few, you know, you've missed the first little push. And but what happens? The private guys, we hold them until the rivers and stuff come up and it starts raining in the winter, and then they disperse, and it's good for everybody. But that's, you know, there's a lot more pressure. Again, if there's a spot that a duck can be killed, that somebody will be hunting it. because I mean, look, if you're a landowner, you're sitting on some free money right there, you know.
Right.
And again, we want the sport to grow. I want as many people hunting as we can. But just going into that, we've got to know that, hey, there's going to be a cost that comes with that. And that's just, more pressured birds and finicky birds and just not as many rest areas.
Right.
Yeah, do you happen to know, what's Brad's last name, Tristan?
Cohen.
You know Brad Cohen by chance? Have you ever talked to him?
I haven't.
He's head of,
I think it's like Tennessee Technical College or something like that.
yeah, their program, but it's called Cohen Wildlife Research Lab. He'll be on different channels or whatever, and so he runs up their waterfowl program and other species of animals. But they've gotten big into the GPS tracking and all that stuff.
No, they're in West Tennessee, aren't they?
Yes, sir. Yep.
I'm familiar with them.
Yeah. Yeah, and their stuff is factual. It's great to watch and all that stuff. And I mean, they do some cool things. And one of the coolest things that he told me they were doing research on, which we're going to have to get him back on, Tristan, because I want to know what the results of this is he said, don't let me quote you, Brad, but he said, our data may show different than the birds that you see up there going, those are migrators. Doesn't necessarily mean that's true. And he said, he was hinting to the fact that basically their data is showing that that's a bunch of baloney. And the other thing he talked about was the range of a duck is typically, what did he say, 4 square miles?
Yeah, it wasn't very, once.
Yeah, what was the standard?
Mm-hmm.
And then he also talked about how they go into protected areas, and they simulate just going baloney crazy with shotguns and just blowing the ducks out. I mean, blowing them out like by the thousands. And he goes, you know what? They come right back. And he goes, they do. But the thing that where I'm getting with all this is they are a crazy freaking animal. And so many times you think you got it right, and you're like, oh man, today, I mean, there's obviously certain situations that put us in a better situation, like a bluebird day, those kinds of things. But I think one of the things that grabs me the most about this sport is how freaking nutty these things behave. I mean, even though, like you said, Rusty, you set up all this and you do it, and you're putting yourself in the best position to, be successful. It takes a lot of hard work, number one, to try to do that. And you doing that all the time. I see you out there doing it all the time. But what is your take on these birds and the minds of them? I mean, is there a rhyme to the reason at all that you've seen in your time over the years? Or
I just know that if you can have an area that's that you don't so much as jump them, and you definitely don't hunt, be it the corner of a block of timber, be it a field. I know one of 2 or 3 years ago, there was a mallard drake, and he had a transmitter, and they were keeping up with him because a buddy that was one of the ones that was in the project was messaging me. Mm-hmm. He lived in our rest area from November till February. Mm-hmm. And what he would do, he would come to what we call the Willows, which was a rest area in the woods, the southeast corner of the tract of timber. And it's just, that's the first place we would have ducks. And that was the last place we would have them. That's the first and last place you'd see them. But he got there, and sometime in November, and he would stay there all day. And right at dark, he would go roost. And he never deviated from that pattern because he knew to survive. So I think those ducks, they're not dumb. And look, that hen, if she's got some little ones that make it down here with her, she teaches them the ropes too. And they just pass that trait along until, it's just established that, okay, we can go right here and not get shot. And look, he's just trying to make it another day.
Yeah.
He's just trying to make it another day. And he's just wanting to get back up north. Mm-hmm. I mean, I love to hunt them and shoot them as much as anybody, but I love to see them thrive. I love to see the show, and you know, as a manager of a piece of waterfowl property, to sit there and plant the food, you know, catch the free water, pump water, tear out the beaver dams, you know, whatever it might be, to do all that, and then it come full circle and they show up, and then after they show up, you figure out how to keep them and still chip around the edges and shoot you some every day, but hold the bulk of them and see them thrive, and just, I mean, that's what it's about. I mean, look, I love to shoot them, but like, I love the process, and I love to see them thrive. It goes right back to what we were talking about, you know, being conservationists. We love to hunt and kill them, but we sure do like to see them do their thing as well.
Man, I couldn't agree more. It's got to be such a gratifying feeling, you know, because I mean, let's face it, whatever you do in life, if you work hard at it, it feels good when you win, you know, and I'm just trying to visualize, you know, if I had that opportunity, what that would feel like, you know, super.
Mm-hmm.
But man, you know, talk a little bit about, you know, so, you know, again, when we first went to Arkansas, we'd heard about the Coca-Cola Woods, and everybody talk about it, you know, and there's other historic pieces of land around there at all, but talk a little bit more about the history of that, Rusty, if you don't mind, if somebody doesn't understand. And I just found that I heard you talk about it with Billy on the Dr. Duck podcast, but I just really love to hear about that again.
So it was just you know, it was established in 1937, the same year DU come out, and the Coca-Cola bottling company from Memphis bought it. Wow. And that's the name just stuck, you know, and throughout the years they made improvements on the levees and the ditches and the system. And
your uncle was a big part of that, right?
And so in the late 50s, they would hear some shooting, and they called a young man back there hunting, and they escorted him off the property. Well, they did this about 3 different times. And he's a 17, 18-year-old kid, but every time they did, he'd have him a handful of ducks. And they figured out, well, he's just a local. And anyway, it ended up being my uncle, and and they hired him. And he and I always tell people when I tell this story, especially on a podcast, like, I don't recommend trying that. I don't think it would go as well as it did for Harv those days. But hell, they hired him, and you know, he managed the place for a little over 40 years before passed away in 2002. And then I had some big shoes to fill, and just, you know, the Realtree's new pattern's called Legacy, and golly, it's such a fitting name because for me especially, just because I took on a legacy that he had built and created for so long, and I hope I made him proud and continued the legacy, and maybe even made it a little better than it was when I found it. And but you know, every year I would strive to always be better than the year before, and so that was a mile from my house where I grew up. So I mean, I grew up, you know, riding my bike back there and helping Harv pick ducks, and we would trot line during the summer months, and then go back there. There'd be some run out, some pipes running, and go back there and catch brim and crappie and bass. I mean, this is 18 years old, you know, and golly, as a dad now, my girls are 15 and 20, and I work, thank God for Life 360 and cell phones. I can't imagine, you know, letting a 10-year-old kid just tear out with a fishing pole or a 22 or whatever, a pellet gun, and just be gone all day and just be like, you know, be back by dark. But that's how I grew up, you know, hunting and fishing and playing basketball. That was just life. And again, going back to what I try to preach on my platform is, you know, get outside and do something. Get off the TV, get off the video games, get off the cell phone. Look, I'm on my cell phone way too much now. I would like to consider it business when I reply to people's comments or answer questions or whatever. I feel like somebody's nice enough to put something nice on my page. The least I can do is say thank you, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But that's how I grew up, right there all around it, and then was blessed to run it for a little over 20 years, and had 20 awesome seasons there. And back in the day, you know, my uncle, when he was the caretaker and the manager, anytime he didn't have guests, he would take me and my brother. And you know, my brother's 15 years older than I am, and I can remember, you know, just crying, wanting to go as a kid. I mean, that's y'all. I'm telling you, I was eat up with it, and he'd carry me on his back, you know, and I'd have little hip boots on. He'd have the waders on, and he'd set me up. And now, once he got me set up, I could deal. I love to shoot. I mean, my grandma, and again, I'm not recommending this, but you know, my grandma had chicken pens, and she.
It's in the teens that morning, and maybe you're chasing ducks or geese. But now it's September and it's 85 degrees and you're hunting early teal or geese. As a waterfowler, you need dependable weather protection that will not break the bank. Founded in 1996, Frog Togs is not only the leader in breathable wader technology, but a company you can depend on to keep you warm and dry, head to toe, no matter your hunting environment. Stay bone dry by using discount code ZD315 for 15% off not only your first purchase, like most discount codes, but how about every single purchase you make from now until December 31st, 2024?
He'd feed them chickens with them sparrows and old blackbirds would get in them chicken coops. So, man, when I was 8, 9 years old, I don't remember how many bundles of BBs or pellets I'd go through shooting birds in their chicken feed, you know. And dude, I took my bird hunting back in as serious as I do duck hunting now. It was fun, but it was a different time, and you know, you're talking almost 40 years ago, which is mind blowing. People will be like, "Man, you're one of the OGs," and I'm like, "What are you talking about?" and I look in the mirror, and my goatee's gray, and I got gray all in my hair, and I got kids who are 20, and I'm like, "Crap, maybe I am old. I don't feel old." That's what me and my buddy that works out with me every morning. That's what we talk about. He's like, "Dude, don't ever grow up." Don't. In my mind, I'm still, you know, 18, 20 years old, but this gray hair don't lie.
Man, you ain't kidding.
Man, it's funny you bring that up. Just like, I'm about to turn 28, which I know, like, everybody listening to this and you and my dad and everybody else is like, man, you're young, but it just seems like it's just now hitting me. And I think, you know, having a big boy job for the last 6-7 years has kind of like, you know, you get busier and then you get a wife. And I think it's crazy to me to look back and be like, man, like when I met this girl, I was 21. Now we're about to both turn 28. Like, and I can only imagine, you know, 10, 15 more years from now, 20 more years from now, it's got to be the same feeling, you know?
Yes, it is. 40 hit me pretty hard. I'll actually be married. I married my high school sweetheart. We'll be celebrating our 25th anniversary in June.
Oh, wow. Congrats. That's awesome.
Thank you. We got married. I was 21. She was 19. And now that I've got girls, that's not as cool as it was back then. I'm just going to tell you. But yeah, time's a thief, and it flies by, and it's too short to not spend as much time with them kids as you can, and don't miss a ball game, don't miss a award ceremony. I know at times you'll be like, "Why am I doing here?" But man, that's where it's at, because you can't get those days back.
No, I was just looking at you on homecoming there. You did throw the shades on one of those pictures, Rusty. You look pretty shockingly beautiful. I mean, look at this guy. Look at it. You got a suit on and stuff, man. I had never seen you in anything but camo.
I know.
Looking good, brother.
I appreciate it. I tell people at functions like that, everybody's like, "Man, who's this guy?" And I'm like, "Look, you can't polish a turd. No matter how you dress him, no matter what you put on him, polish him up, he's still just a turd. It's just in a different clothes." So, but no, man, I'm blessed with an awesome family. Yeah, just blessed more than I deserve. But go ahead.
Let me ask you this, Rusty. You know, me and my wife, you know, we don't have kids yet, or it's something we talk about frequently, and
it's something his mom talks about frequently.
Yeah,
I can promise.
My God, yeah, she asks me all the time. But it's one of those things. She wants a girl, and I'm selfishly, one of my main motivations for wanting to have a kid is to just teach them the outdoors, and get them into hunting and just see that success, live the same thing that my dad's lived with me. And just, I remember being young and being 4 and 5 and getting out in the woods and things
I remember before you weren't even conceived yet, bro. And I was just like, come on, get here already.
Well, so where I'm going with this all is, every guy that, wants to teach, a young boy how to get out into the outdoors, but I've already made up my mind, if it is a girl or whatever, if we have however many girls, then I'm going to try to teach them the outdoors, so I'm just curious, having 2 girls, how that dynamic has played out in your life, and, do you get them in the outdoors? Are they interested in it and all that stuff,
So my oldest, Natalie, she's 20. She's at A-State in college. She loves it. I'm talking about she was a killer. Great little shot. Again, she was my first one, and she went everywhere I went. Killed her first deer when she was, she would have been, 2012. She was 8. Killed her first deer at 8 years old, sitting in my lap, all on her own. Special. She loves it. Killed several deer. Dove hunts with us opening weekend every year. Duck hunts every chance I can take her. Obviously, I'm in the business, and then she's at school, so we don't get those mornings very often, which makes them that much more special.
Sure.
But man, just handled it. She was raised just like a boy. I'm talking about just like a boy, and she is proof that you can still be girly and still be just like a boy. As far as the way to hunt and stuff. Now, and my youngest one, Miley Kate, she's 15. Now that kid had rather have a fried gray squirrel back leg than the pretty.
I've never heard that.
Hey,
Give me a minute, Rusty.
This is you can't make
gnawing on that thing.
You can't make this up.
Brother, that's great.
We built a home in 2013, and I see Miley would have been 4 or 5, and they're riding through we built in a little old subdivision, bought a couple of acres just outside the city limits, and they're riding through the neighborhood. Of course, everybody knows everybody. They're on a little golf cart, and they go, Miley, what are you eating? She said, I'm eating squirrel, and I mean, she held it up just. She probably didn't have a shirt on. Just wild, just different, just country as heck. And but no, like she'll go to high school and they'll be like, Miley, what's your favorite food? She'll be like, deer with cream cheese. You're like, deer with cream cheese. And I mean, dude, I'll butterfly a tenderloin, put cream cheese and jalapenos, twirl it in bacon, cook it medium rare on the grill. I'm sure, dude, it's so stinking good.
Oh, yeah.
But that is her favorite meal. Like, you have deer, stuffed tenderloin, some baked beans, and some mashed taters, and that kid is in heaven. Like, she'll tell the world. But with all that being said, I mean, she loves ducks, she loves squirrels, she loves deer, any and every wild game, dove, but she is not a hunter. Huh. She has got the softest heart. Loves animals, but she just doesn't want to kill them. And you know what? I'm okay with that.
Right.
I'm okay with that.
Yep. I got one
because but that's just not her forte. Now, opening weekend of dove season, she'll go. She'll pick the birds up. She'll hang out. She likes the feed. We always cook them right there in the field right after the hunt, which is awesome. And she'll go do that. And loves it. But now, if you cripple one down and she goes and gets it, just know she's fixed to try to nurse it back to life and let it go. But great. Yeah, man, it's just whatever. Don't push them one way or the other. Natalie, obviously being my firstborn, I probably cheated Miley a little bit because I spent so much time with Nat as she was younger, because that was, first one, and she went everywhere I went. And, but no, man, it's, look, people can, there's nothing wrong with going to Disney. There's nothing wrong with doing these fancy vacations, but dude, just build a little old fire out in the yard in the fire pit and watch your kids. Just a fire. Just give them your time. It doesn't matter what you're doing. You know, man, I mean, walking through the woods with them, you know, pick blackberries, go look for buckeyes. I mean, just little stuff like that don't cost a dime, but you're giving them the most valuable thing in the world, and that's your time.
Yeah. Well said,
and,
man.
And dude, I learned a lot from mistakes that I've seen other people make and a few mistakes that I've made, but that's just some of that stuff that I try to teach people and tell people because it served me well. You know, look, teach your kids to have manners. You know, we were talking about earlier about how ethics in the woods and setting up too close. And look, y'all go sit in a restaurant and you watch some of these kids now. And look, I know women aren't crippled. I know, you know, they can do whatever. But look, the way I was raised, you and your wife, you and your girlfriend, or dude, I can be at the post office. If a woman's coming up, I stop and I hold the door for her.
Absolutely.
Right. I say yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am. My wife's a school teacher.
Or if they're older than you. Or, I mean, really, I do it for anybody. Quite honest. You know what I'm saying, Rusty. It's automatic for a girl, for a lady, though.
Right. My wife's a school teacher, and I ask her, you know, how many kids out of, let's just say 20, will say yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am? And she said maybe 2.
Wow.
Now, look, y'all, when you got a kid, and I'm going to get on my little rant for a second.
Yeah, do it, dude. Do it.
Everybody will tell you, oh, it's the kids have changed. Kids have changed. Kids hadn't changed. Kids hadn't changed a bit. When you have a child, you have got a blank slate. What you do with that blank slate is on you. It's not on the kid. Right. So like well, my dad, he always said, you boys, y'all may be idiots. Y'all may be dumb as a sack of rocks, but you're going to have manners. Right. You're going to have manners. You're going to say please and thank you. You're going to say yes and no, ma'am. And and like, you know, you're going to take your hat off at the table. Golly, it just flies me hot to see these kids at a ball game or something. They play the anthem and they leave their hat on.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, I just can't go that, y'all. And I know it's not cool nowadays. It's not cool to be the guy who stands up for what's right. But dadgummit, that's what's wrong, is that we've laid down too long and let this stuff go. And now here we are. Look what we got on our hands.
Right.
I mean, look where this world's headed. Look where it's going.
100%. So
like, it goes way beyond hunting and ethics. It's a people problem, you know. And again, it ain't the kid's fault. It's the mom and dad's, you know. And look, I am not perfect by no means, but if you will raise your kids to have manners in today's world, your children will stand out far and above and beyond all other kids just by simply having manners. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. And then, you know, when it comes time to, you know, you're interviewing for a job, you know, and like you said, standing out. I mean, it's true. You know, it makes a difference.
Yes, absolutely.
You know, it's crazy for me to think, like, you know, I graduated high school, I guess, going on 11 years ago now, 10 years ago. That's weird to say, but, you know, my football coach we had at a public school in Florida, we had a Bible class, and he taught that, and he was the football coach as well. And I haven't checked in to see what they're doing there now, but I mean, in today's climate, like, you know, I don't know if you're seeing things like that anymore, you know, in public school at least.
Right. Well, down here in the South, in the small communities, they won't make you do it, but they will give you the option. You know, they'll meet at the flagpole and pray, or
that's nice.
Or they'll let a kid lead the pledge, or they'll let a kid pray, you know, or at a ball game. But yeah, it's I wouldn't want to go into politics and world problems, but dadgummit, man, it's bad.
Yeah, no, I hear you,
man. So, A little bit of drum roll. So I don't want to be like cheesy. It'd be like you heard it first here on the One Hell of a Life Outdoor podcast. But we had a little talk with Rusty off air. And if y'all follow him, there might be some stuff going around the airways a little bit right now. But Rusty definitely wants to take the chance to kind of like just tell you guys what's happening. And number one, congratulations, brother. I mean, what an incredible opportunity you shared a little bit with us. This new journey is taking you to another level, and man, we're excited to be a part of helping you get the message out.
Well, thank you. And that's what's wild. When we scheduled this, I had a feeling it was about to happen, but I didn't know. And then it happened. And I'm like, well, and I hope they'll still have me on. But yeah, so effective October 1st, I resigned as the manager of the Coca-Cola Woods. And, part of that's always going to be home. That's always going to have part of my heart, just because from the time I could walk, I was around it, and someone in my family had something to do with that place since the 1950s. My grandmother picked ducks, there.
Wow.
My uncle was the manager. I was the manager. My dad was he watched out for trespassers. So like, there's so much history there. And again, like I told you, that's a chapter that first of all, I want to race or I can't race. It's just because it was just part of my life for so long.
Mm-hmm.
But with that being said, with this platform, I've been blessed to grow and build and enjoy doing. I've had an opportunity to grow, and my creative freedom there was limited, and had some people reach out to me, and we just started kicking ideas around and talking, and obviously talked to my wife, and I decided to give it a go. So I am now the manager of Fowler's Point, which is in the White River Bottoms down around Desark, Arkansas. And I'm going from a 520 acre block of timber to just under 3,000 acres. But what is super cool about the new property is it's very diverse. I was kind of boxed in. There was only so much I could show you in one little block of timber. But what's awesome about this piece of property is that it's so diverse. You've got big willow trees and willow breaks. That looks almost like green timber when the ducks do it right. You've got buckbrush. You've got tree lines. You've got moist soil units. You've got planted hardwoods that are almost 30 years old now. So it's exciting for me because I get to do something, quite frankly, that's probably going to be a little uncomfortable and that I'm going to have to learn, but what's awesome is that now at the beginning of this is that I've got an awesome following, and everybody's going to learn together with this deal, and everybody's going to follow along the process, and it's going to be, you're going to see the good, the bad, and the ugly, so it's exciting. The content should go out the roof as far as just the difference of stuff. I may be cleaning gutters one day and on a skid steer the next, and on a bush hog, it could be anything. But ultimately, it's all based around, duck habitat. And there's 4 members who are equity holders of the club, and a great, great group of guys, self-made men who have worked their tails off to get to where they are. And we are all like-minded, and everybody is geared toward ducks and duck management. How can we make the duck hunting better? And, the last few years I've kind of it is what it is. It kind of drifted away from the ducks, and more emphasis was put on other things. But for me, it's always about the ducks, and, having ducks and holding ducks and having successful hunts trumps everything. If you can do that, it's okay if some other stuff ain't quite right, because you know what, we got ducks. Right. And so I'm excited about it, and yeah, it's different. My wife went from teaching in a public school to teaching in a prison this year, and had total career change. Which
Oh, wow.
It's been awesome. She's teaching in a men's prison, but a lot of people don't know this, but in a prison they have 6 different levels, and she's level 3. She's basically teaching grown men 3rd and 4th grade math and reading.
Wow.
And which it's hard to even fathom. They're just trying to get their GED because so she had a career change this year too after teaching in public school 18 years, and I had been there at the Coca-Cola Woods for 20 years, and I'm like, sometimes it's just time.
Right.
And it was time, and me and the owner were on good terms. Everything's great, and I'm blessed to have been part of it, but I'm also blessed to get to do it again and build something. And look, Fowler's Point is a great place, but there's so much untapped potential that's not being used. You just food plots and rest areas and things that I think I can bring a fresh set of eyes and young ideas and incorporate with what they've got going on. And my goal is here in a couple of years, people will be talking about Fowler's Point, the way they do the Coca-Cola Woods.
Right.
So it's going to be fun, man. It's going to be a fun ride. I am excited about it. It's going to be a lot more work, to take on at 45 years old versus 25 when I was started at the Coca-Cola Woods.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm excited about it. I'm not starting from scratch this time.
That's right. You got a little bit of a checklist and a little bit of a diary.
That's exactly right. Exactly right.
I think I have a couple different things here that kind of spurred off of you saying all that, Rusty. From a legacy standpoint, it's like, and I know you're a humble guy and things like that, but it's with your uncle kind of leading into and then you took over for your uncle and things like that, and obviously you've put 20.
How's it feel to be part of something illegal?
20.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
20 plus years and in the Coca-Cola Woods, but like you said, starting over, it just hits me. It's like, man, you are going to a completely different thing and having the opportunity to kind of put your thumbprints on it, fingerprints on it, and I just think that's really neat. For one, so I'd, kind of just tapping into what you were saying. I just think that's pretty cool. And the other, I go ahead. I got a couple.
No. I'm listening. Go ahead. Finish what you were saying. I'm all ears.
Oh no, I was just a couple questions I had. From a like a management of agriculture standpoint and like woods and things like that. It's just like outside looking in, you were talking about the 500 block of woods versus now there's so much, you got the moist soil units and things like
3,000
that.
3,000 acres. Yeah.
Right. So I'm trying not to throw too much at you, but I know I'm about to throw a lot.
No, throw a lot. Throw a lot at him, dude.
So the one thing I want to know, we
got the guy
with,
for that.
With the management of trees, right? I know that's a big topic in Arkansas, water on how long you leave water on and things like that. So I want to just get your 2 cents on like management of your hardwoods and things like that. But, I got to imagine you were saying, you're looking forward to feeling uncomfortable on some things. Like, I don't know how much, and I'm just innocently asking, like, when it comes to like the fields and things like that, is that kind of what you're alluding to when it comes to like feeling uncomfortable, just some different type of land management or you know what I mean?
Or is it just size of the project?
It's a combination of everything.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big motivational guy. I watch all the videos and stuff, and you hear people talking about, the only way, anytime you're ever going to try to grow, you're going to go through some growing pain. It's going to be uncomfortable at times. So I feel like to grow, this is something I've got to do.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as being uncomfortable, yes, it's a 3,000 acre piece is intimidating. Until you put eyes on it and put your boots on the ground, you're like, okay, I think I could do this. But like when I was studying it on X, I was scared to death. I ain't gonna lie. But after I went and looked at it a couple of times, I said, I think I can.
Our partners at Huntwise are offering an exclusive discount for Zero Duck 30 followers. As an elite member, some of the features you'll immediately gain access to are Huntcast, Windcast, peak kill times, property lines, owner information and phone lookup, 250 map layers, unlimited offline maps, 3D maps, social media, and on top of it all, save up to 50% off some of the top hunting brands in the industry. Download and explore the #1 hunting tool set today and save 20% by using code DUCK30.
Pull this off, and then look, and I told them straight up, there's going to be some flops. You know, I'm going to plant milo in some places that it may not work. I'm going to plant rice that may burn up, but like I promise, some of it's going to work, and I promise after a couple of years, I'll get it dialed in to where it's down to an art. But you know, another thing, uncomfortable. You know, just a completely different track of ground and different people. You know, I have been
big point.
I've been running the show pretty much in the off season. The last two owners since 2004 till now, they show up during hunt season and that's it. So it's which makes you feel good as far as how much they trust you, but also, you know, you have free reign to do what you want. Well, now the gentleman that originally started this place and developed the property, he's an older gentleman, Mr. Bobby, 73, and well, I'm working side by side with him every day. So now I am, and look, he is priceless to have him there because he has so much knowledge about when the river gets to this level, water's here. You need to put this many boards in here. You know, you can go here when the river's here, but you can't go here. But I'm under, so I am now the student of under him for the last couple weeks because look, he just knows it. And you know, he's 73, so he's getting on up in age, and look, he's been pretty much doing it all himself, and you know, they see the untapped potential, and they also see that Mr. Bob's getting older and he ain't gonna be able to do this forever. So they knew it was time to do something. But for me, the uncomfortable part, you know, is basically taking for right now until I learn everything is taking orders, you know, taking orders from somebody else as far as do this, do that, because I've been the one, you know, doing that the last 20 years. I didn't have anybody telling me what to do because I knew what to do, and quite frankly, what I didn't know to do, I experimented until I figured it out. But I didn't have anybody saying do this. Now during duck season, the owner shows up, and yeah, you're taking orders as far as do this, do that. But for the most part, it was just I knew it like the back of my hand. I mean, it's just like living in a house for 30 years. You don't have to turn the lights on going. And I guess that's probably a great analogy. And I just sit here and think about this. It's like growing up in your childhood home or living in a house for 20 or 30 years. You can go from room to room and never turn a light on. Or you can reach and grab every switch. Well, now, instead of being in a 1,500 square foot house, you're in a 7,500 square foot house. And you've never been there a whole lot in the daytime. Now turn the lights off and see where you at.
Fair enough.
So that's kind of what it feels like. But you know, I'm there. I've been there a couple of weeks now and had went a handful of times before the end, just kind of get familiar with it. And it's every day gets a little easier. And I have been able to work side by side with Mr. Bob, and he's entrusted me to do some stuff, and the other members are like, I'm surprised he let you do that. So I'm gaining his trust, and you know, look, trust is earned. It's not something that's just freely given. Nobody owes you trust. You have to earn that.
Right.
And and I've had to, you know, just show some humility and be as humble as I could, and just say, you know, show me how you want it done, and that's the way I want to do it. And you know, honestly, and I told Bob this. I said, I know this is your baby, and so basically, he developed the property and had visions and ideas, and he kept a share and sold 3 shares. So he's a member of his own property now. That's how this whole deal works. And I told him, I said, look, I know this is your baby, and I know you're super proud of this. I said, and I'm not coming in here trying to make anyone look bad or tell you what to do. I said, but I am coming in with a fresh set of eyes. They do want me to figure out how to incorporate some food plots. I said, I just want to enhance what you have already got going. I said, I want to make you proud the way I feel like I made my uncle proud.
Mm.
You know, and look, that's as good as I can put it out there for him. And it's been fun. It's refreshing. You know, it's a 50-minute drive. I'm used to a 10-minute drive, so that's a little bit. But that allows me to make some phone calls. You know, get all that done before I get home, and then try to be present when I'm home. Unless I'm doing a podcast, then I'm tied up. So
Yeah.
Well, building on that a little bit, I don't think, and it may have been you talking about, Rusty, but the importance of moist soil units, the natural vegetation that ducks. I mean, we all get caught up in the corn and the beans and the milo and the rice and whatever, and but man, can you talk a little bit about that and what your experience has been with moist soil units and how important they are? I mean, like we got this stuff that Kade, our buddy, we hunt over in Cache, and he'll say, man, he goes, I don't know what it is, but late season these ducks, man, they like to pile up in this coffee bean. And I'm like, what's coffee bean? He goes, all this stuff over here, and I'll be son of a gun every year in that area. The ducks are just as thick as you can put them in there. Now,
they like the security of those coffee beans. They're tall and bushy. And then I would say, I don't know if they eat the seeds. Some people say they do. Some people say they don't. But I would say there's probably some bugs or invertebrates that are in there as well.
Yeah, something like that. But I mean, where I'm going with all this is just that, it is so important that we have all this agriculture, but how important it is. Like, what has been your experience with seeing ducks? Like, do you see them sometimes go, man, today, we got to get in there and eat that whatever it is, the invertebrates or the smart weed or whatever it is, What do you see with that? As far as like,
I know used to, if you had a freeze coming up, you could drive around and in every single food plot in the woods, it would be cram full. And they were just loading up on as much food as they could before the freeze. They say the in the warmer weather, they like the natural stuff. They like the smart weed and the millet and the barnyard grass and stuff like that. I'm a huge fan of diversity.
Okay.
I like a good mix. So let's just say the ducks like corn when it's cold or rice when it's cold, or they like natural when it's warm. Well, man, if you can incorporate a little bit of all that, well, now, man, the ducks have no reason to leave regardless of the weather, unless it freezes completely up, But there's definitely, all of it has value. All of it has value. And it could be seed, it could be bugs, it could be just cover. But I love diversity, and I was kind of limited before, but now on 3,000 acres, man, it's as diverse as it gets. And Tristan, you were asking about timber a while ago, and as far as getting the water off, we always would start our water in mid to late September. My uncle used to say anything once the sap starts down. In other words, once those leaves are starting to turn, that means the sap's starting to fall, and that you can put the water on the trees.
Now, Rusty,
he would always say,
I don't want to interrupt you, but I do have to interrupt because I'm psycho OCD guy. In these woods, what are the types of trees you have there? Just so people get it.
All right. So,
is it mostly white oaks, or is it? I mean,
there's some white oaks. There's red oaks. You got overcup oaks. I mean, that's a white oak, I guess. Overcup. It might be a red. You got different oaks, but then you've got some willows and some buckbrush and some, and like an overcup, or what I call a water oak. It can handle water earlier than, like I was just to say, a white oak that makes a good white oak acre.
Mm-hmm.
So we would start flooding in September, mid to late September, and the first things that would go under would be your overcup water oaks. It would be your willows. It'd be your buckbrush, those natural lower areas that are used to the water. So a lot of people will be like, well, man, that's too early. Well, you can't really tell on a video you can't see the big picture, in other words. So kind of as that water starts coming up slow, the trees that can handle the water a little bit earlier are the first ones to get under. because it's naturally lower. And then as you bring the water up, it's probably mid-October before our white oaks would get under, you know.
Okay.
So at that point, you know, the leaves are turning but my uncle used to always say, you can put the water on when the sap starts down, and you've got to have the water off before the sap goes up. So once the leaves starting to turn, you're fine, but you've got to take it off before they start budding out. If that makes any sense. In the spring, I always shoot to have a little bit of water showing around Halloween, full flood November 20th, and then all my water gone by February the 20th.
Okay.
Wow.
Is usually no later than March the 1st. Now, in the river bottoms, a lot of these spring floods of trees get under, according to the experts, and again, I don't have a piece of paper that says I'm smart at all. But according to the experts, if that water has current and it's moving, it does not bother the trees nearly as much as stagnant water that's just standing.
Interesting.
So, you know, I know the game and fish gets a bad rap around here, but look, I do believe 100% they have the hunters and the trees best interest at heart.
Same, yeah,
for sure. I mean,
I think they're doing what they can do with what they got. Now, I will, and I say this on almost every podcast, I do feel like there's one thing that they could do that would make it better. I feel like in around, let's just say it, whether it's Biomeda, whether it's Hurricane, whether it's Black River, no matter the WMA, I feel like there's some locals. In fact, I know some of the locals at some of the ones that are around us. There's some locals that know every darn nook and cranny on that property. Just the way I know a piece of woods that I've grown up in.
Right.
They know every beaver dam. They know every slough that holds water. All right. Look, you take a biologist. Yes, he's smart. But does he have that common sense knowledge and that local knowledge that the boy whose grandpa took, that his grandpa took him there since he could walk? Does he know what he knows? Absolutely not. So I really wish there was a way to, I don't know if you would call it employ them, but to work hand in hand with a couple of locals, and pay them a little money, do whatever you got to do, that could walk them through those woods and say, all right, this dam needs blowed, this structure needs taken out, this needs this. I think if they would lean on some local knowledge, it would pay dividends on all these projects.
Man, that's such a great point.
Yeah, that is a great point. I mean, that's where the voice comes, right? And that's the small guy that doesn't get heard. And so many times, I mean, you hear about them in the parking lot, right? If you visit these WMAs, you know, you spend enough time in these parking lots, you'll meet a few folks like Rusty's talking about, no doubt about it. And, you know, we actually, I'll save his name, but there was a game warden that we met at one of the popular WMAs he just mentioned. And, you know, he saw us getting our butts kicked for several days in a row. And he's like, hey, come here. He goes, bring up your hunting app. And I pulled it up and he goes, what is that? And big plug out to Huntwise. All right. But he goes, have you all tried here? And he put a little dot on the map and stuff. And he helped us because he knew that WMA inside and out. Everybody else that day wasn't doing that. And he showed us how to get there. And I don't think that we ever did because we were kind of dumb, to be honest. But the point is that you're right, man. I mean, there's nobody that knows it better than the people that are out there just living it and breathing it every single day.
Right. There's a good old boy out there that can tell you, you know, what's holding that water back or why this ain't draining. But yeah, again, man, that local knowledge is critical, I think.
What do you think attracts people? I mean, I've never asked anybody this question. What do you think attracts people so much, and just to hearing it from your perspective, to the addiction of hunting timber?
It's so intimate. It's so special. first of all, a sunrise in the woods is just epic when it starts coming through the trees.
Mm-hmm.
But man, when those ducks, when they're doing it right, you're not in an open field, and when all the stars align and you can feel the wind off of them or they splash water on you. Look, there ain't no place you can get that but the timber.
Mm.
Yeah.
There ain't no place. It's like being at the bottom of a funnel, and you pour that whatever in that funnel where it comes out. When everything lines up right, you're at the bottom of that funnel. It's as special as it gets. Just the sights, the sounds. I mean, that's why you come to Arkansas. That's why you sleep at a boat ramp. That's why you get up. That's why you miss birthday parties and hell weddings or whatever for that one moment. And I have been blessed. My eyes, I have seen the best of the best. And it still, when they do it right, it still gets me. And it's just and look, I get lost in the moment. I can care less about shooting them in that moment because all the shots do is mess it up.
Right? I mean,
that's what it was so good about the bow hunting ducks. Shooting them with bow and arrow.
I saw that.
So awesome. That's what's so awesome about that is that you don't mess it up. They just keep coming. They just keep coming. It's silent death, and it's awesome.
Rusty, I just went. So, I've been bow hunting a long time, as I told you off air. This is my 41st year. And I've shot everything. I mean, I grew up on a recurve, shooting instinctive, wooden arrows. You resined your tips on, you put your old bear broadheads on with your turkey feather. You glued your nocks, awesome. All that stuff. I learned from a good man, and he hunted with Fred Bear, that kind of thing. So I got that kind of spirit of wild in me, and I've talked about with hunting. We talk a lot about, and I'm not going to go down these rabbit holes too deep, but what really got me going on this subject was a couple of years ago. You remember when the fans came out for turkey hunting and people walked behind them, shoot them?
Yep.
And the whole turkey industry lost their shit. They did. It was just like, oh my God, you're taking something away from the sport, and that's not fair, and blah, 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 blah. So, and then you got your folks that say you can't water swat them. And then, I was on a water swat thread the other day, and I said, well, I guess the folks, for those of you that water swat, just don't shoot deer when they're walking, I guess. Just whatever. And, but I talk a little bit about the challenge of the sport, and whatever that gets to be for you is great. No matter, and that's the awesomeness about this sport, is growing up like you and I did when you didn't have trail camera. And you remember when the little thread lines came out with a little clicker on it? You could put across the deer trail. You can see what time that deer went across there, or even the old school days where you just put a piece of yarn across there and just knew that they walked across there. Those are all things that have changed the sport. The first time I remember my stepdad heard a guy blow a grunt call. He said, "You're not blowing that on this property." He said, "Deer don't make that sound." That all these technology changes. And where I'm going with this is, that's so cool about the hunting world, whether it's waterfowl, deer, doesn't matter what it is that you can take that challenge however you want. And so this year I decided, that's it. I'm going back to recurve. And Tim Wells helped with that a little bit. I saw you guys out there doing that. I think it was last year or the year before. I saw you doing that. You guys were doing that in the timber, and I was like, golly, dude, you talk about taking a timber and making it better. I was just like, wow. And so I went back to a recurve this year, and I've been just kind of like relearning it and becoming intimate with my bow, and remembering back when I used to pull with fingers and didn't have a peep sight, and you had to line your string up with your sight, and all these things that I'm going through.
I remember yes, I love the technology. I do. I'm guilty
Yeah.
of it to an extent. But I could not echo what you said anymore because I yearn and I miss the days of looking for sign, finding a tree that they're using, hanging a set, and then if it's dude, I can remember. First of all, any bow kill is a trophy.
Boom.
I'll say that.
You heard it,
I'll-
baby. Let's go
I'll say
shoot
that.
the spike.
Any bow kill.
If that's your deer.
Why did we start hunting to begin with? We hunted
To
because to eat.
Right.
All right. And then we evolved into trophies. And look, I'm sitting here looking at a 157 from Kentucky, and there's a 130-inch 8-point here in Arkansas, and there's a 144 10. So I love big deer. But I wish I was still that 16, 18-year-old kid who wanna look, we deer hunted, you know. Now look, I get it, as your opportunities get greater, you can be a little more picky. But like I wanna go sit on the ground with open sight 30-30 and shoot the first deer that comes by at some point this season.
That's awesome.
And just like the old school, I want to, you know, that's what's, and you know, duck hunting, there's technology, but man, give me 24 decoys, a jerk string, and a 410 with some boss ammo or whatever, and let me shoot me 4 backpedaling, doing it right.
Yeah.
It's as good as it gets. And yes, the recurve, dude, I love that. I love that.
I'm so excited about the challenge. I'm nervous about it, Rusty. I am. It's making me nervous.
Levi Morgan did that this year, and I'm friends. We have a mutual, and I'm friends with Levi, but Andy Morgan, the professional bass fisherman who I'm friends with as well, huge bow hunter. And I had mentioned to Andy the deal on the deer hunt, and then Levi, I think they kind of talked about it, and then he ordered an old switchback Matthews.
Oh yeah,
ordered
nice.
ordered it from eBay. Went back to his little just a caliper release. Put whatever sight was popular back then, but he took everything from that era, and then he went to Mississippi here about 2 hours from me, and didn't run trail cameras. He hunted sign, hunted
hell
straight.
Yeah. I talked about not running trail cameras. That's awesome.
And he shot a big old 5.5-year-old 8-point, 18 yards, and he was kidding. He said he still almost ducked my string at 18 yards. But,
Wow.
But I mean, it's on YouTube. You have to check it out. But,
Yeah.
But he's sitting there shooting at the camp, and Andy walks by and he says, son, that bow's slower than I was in the 3rd grade. and just, it was cool, man. It was old school. And again, you know, if it's legal and he's happy shooting a 6-point, I don't care what he'd have been next year.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
If it makes him happy, it's your tag.
Yes.
Do what makes you happy.
That's
100%.
right.
Do what makes you happy. And if you shame a guy or talk bad about it and it's legal, then shame on you because you're the one with the problem.
Right.
Well, the freshest feeling I can give this from a father-son perspective is, you know, I was out there chasing the cane and coming back, and I'm like, Tristan, when are we hunting? You know, so last night we went out and hunted, and I was filming, he's hunting, and we're in the stand, and this button buck come walking up, you know, and I'm looking at it, just drooling. I'm drooling, bro. I'm not kidding. I'm sitting there just going, oh my God, dude. And he looks at me, he goes, do I shoot it? I go, it's not my shot, it's your shot. I go, you decide if you shoot it or not. And I just love that he and I have that same kind of, you know, like, we kind of get to live that experience together, you know, just like when Tristan
That's awesome.
when he got his first beard in the spring, you know, he said, you know, all right, Rusty, when you're with your wife and you guys go somewhere, you'll see where I'm going with this. When you're with your wife and you guys go meet up with friends, when she talks about your wedding, does she say our wedding or she say her wedding?
She says our wedding.
That's right. So when Tristan shot this turkey, because he maybe shut the camera off because he was jacking us up so bad.
I didn't want anything to blow.
He's like, dude, don't blow this. And he says, shut the camera off, Dad. Quit recording. And I said, that's our turkey.
Yeah.
That is our turkey, you know.
Right.
But no, it's whatever you get out of the sport, however you do it, man. And I love that you talked about the no camera thing, because I was like, you know, what's the challenge? You know, and I love my Halon. Love that bow. It's one of the best bows I've ever shot in my life. But man, when I'm going through this whole process, like buddies asked me, he said, you went deer hunting with that bow yet? I said, no. They said, well, it's been deer season for a couple weeks. And I said, I'm learning, I'm becoming one with the bow. Honestly, God's honest truth, it's like a spiritual thing to me. A lot of people haven't heard of Howard Hill, which was before Fred Bear. He was one of the first.
He's the first white man to kill an elephant with a bow and arrow, right?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Yeah, I was a bow hunter long before I was a duck hunter.
Yeah, so there was this I can't even explain it. This energy that I've learned, and watching some of those old videos of him, Fred Bear, several other people, they would talk about being the arrow. You have to be the arrow, and man, it took me so long to figure that out. And there's been shots that I've made that you let that thing go, and it wasn't your standard little 20-yard shot, right here, boom. That you felt that arrow, and God bless Ted Nugent. But the spirit of it and everything, there's something to that. I have no idea what the hell it is, but when that thing is right with that bow, there's something special about that. And where I'm going with all this is that I'm trying this year, is I said, I went all the way back to my roots, and I remember Jerry just standing over me going, you're not shooting that, you're not going on deer hunting till you show me you can hit that paper plate every time. And it ain't about hitting that 10 ring. It's about hitting that paper plate. It's not about shooting 10 rings, because I've met some guys that have been friends of mine that they can smoke 10 rings, 40 yards all day long, but they don't know how to shoot a deer. And I say a deer, not a buck, but a deer. And I'm so excited that the first button buck that walks by with this bow within 20 yards is getting rocked. He's going to eat good. And
here's the way y'all look at this too. Not everybody's blessed to be able to go hunt anytime they want to.
Yep.
So they may get 2 sits a week at best.
Yep.
And one of those are wife snagging at them, so the second one may not happen. Who knows?
Right.
But all right. So already you've cut your odds down. All right. Now, like you just said, your wheelhouse is 20 yards.
Yep.
Or let's just say, even if it's a 40-yard wheelhouse, there is only so many that's going to come in there. So are you going to be picky when that 2.5-year-old 8-point comes by and know that, well, first of all, I'm not going to get to hunt the next 2 weeks. Second of all, I'm not guaranteed that I'm going to have another one in my wheelhouse.
Yep.
So all those factors play in.
Man, now, good point.
If you're blessed to be able to hunt every day of the week, and look, I'm all about playing to win. Yep. But my God, at some point you throw all that out. You got one day to hunt. I'm fixing to just put all my cards on the table, and I'm going to go try to kill him.
Right.
Yep.
And I've been blessed to be able to pass some deer and go to some good places to where you knew, all right, I got 5 days to hunt. Okay, I'm 90% sure something better is going to walk by. So you can afford to wait. Man, the regular guy who gets to hunt twice a week, man, he ain't going to have many shots at it. So he needs to make it count.
Yep.
And again, he may be feeding his family. It may not be just to donate or give away. He may, by God, be counting on that food to get him through the next 2 weeks.
Yep.
Well,
Yep.
that's kind of comes back to Steve Ranella saying, he's like, don't pass something on the first day that you'd like to have on the last day.
That's right.
That's right.
That's
No,
right.
that's exactly right.
Well, I posted a short tonight on our YouTube that it says pass or shoot, and it's in Georgia, you know, and we're up here on the northeast side of Atlanta, and last year I had this buck come walking in, and to preface that, what every bow hunter goes through, and I will not go down this rabbit hole tonight, but I'd love to, is sometimes you're not gonna make a good shot. Sometimes there's things outside of your control that you can't handle, or that you can't control. And you know, last year, opening day, what better opportunity to shoot a deer? And this doe walks up with me and Tristan, and he's filming. I want to smoke this doe's ass right in front of Tristan, and she ducks my arrow. I mean, it was just stupid. You know, I clipped her back, which did in slow-mo, that kind of thing. I've had, you know, Rusty, you have those situations sometimes you shoot and they turn into your arrow. All these drop, all this stuff can happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
But where I'm going with this is you get that opportunity, you have to take it. And you can't judge what has happened up until that point. So last year, I'm sitting there and I had all this happen to me at the beginning of the season, right? Halloween, Tristan's out of town. I go up and I'm self-filming. And you know that sound when a big buck's coming. It's just that that consistent walk. You know what I'm talking about? That buck walk.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh, baby, here he comes. Here comes this. He's probably about, I'd put him about 138, 140, split G2, left side, 11 point. Beautiful deer. He comes out 38 yards, sitting there just eating acorns. Front leg is forward, everything you want to videotape for footage, right? And then just say, all right, yeah, make sure you shoot him where the leg is forward, right? I mean, it was beautiful. He was just like, look right here. The lungs are right there, bro. Just shoot me. And man, where I'm going with this is that sometimes you don't think about what's happened to you prior to that. And what I said to myself was, you're not a good man if you take that shot right now. You have not. I had those situations come up with those does where I had some bad shot opportunities and it messed with my head. Don't take the shot if you're not confident in taking the shot. You know, and to flip that in a quick circle, Tristan's dealt with something similar this year, and he's showing me, he's like, Dad, I'm practicing every night, every day, every night. I said, son, we know you're a good shot. But I said, it's about next time that shot comes up, and this leads to that button buck, should I take the shot, is it's more about settling in and saying, I'm going to take a shot when I feel comfortable taking the shot. And you just don't think about all that mind game that goes in, is where I'm going with this. You know what I'm talking about, Rusty? Is that that stuff can play with your head, man. It's like a quarterback getting smashed and then having to get up and throw the ball again. You know, I mean, it's sometimes those things mess with you, man. And it happens to every hunter.
Yeah, and you know, you add in the camera trying to self-film.
Yeah.
I love to document everything, and I've self-filmed some deer hunts, but that adds a whole nother aspect to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it really does. There's that stress because you're just like, man, you're like, I could screw this up at any moment, you know.
Right, and at some point, I'm sure y'all have done it too. But like, I don't care if I get it on film or not. I just can't let this joker get out.
Right. No, literally last night, so our buddy Kade, he's been going live on TikTok with his deer hunts, and he's like, well, we could do like a collaborative thing, and I get it set up or whatever, and the whole time, it just stressed me the hell out because I'm like, I'm so used to being, like, I don't like talking really, I just like scan the woods the whole time and just, you know, things like that. I don't think I'm going to be a TikTok live deer hunter. Because just trying to film with my dad is enough stress on its own.
Right.
But he'll sit there the
That's
whole
right.
time. He'll sit there the whole time with the phone 6 inches from his face, and the comments will come in, and he'll reply to him or whatever. But it just had me in a ball of stress because I'm like, I can't live with myself if a deer sees me like messing with my phone when it comes in.
Right. No, I agree with you.
Well, man, Rusty, we've loved having you on, man. I think Tony said he had one last question.
Man, so this is a tough one. It's going to be a tough one for you, Rusty. But
I'm ready.
what has been your favorite hunt of your life? First thing hits your brain.
Well, first thing that hit my brain was my little girl killing her first deer sitting in my lap.
There it is. There it is.
But man, it's really hard to pin down just one. I remember hunting with my uncle on the Bow of the View. I called my first ducks, and this one still gets me. I think I was 10 or 11, and I had heel boots on, and he had winged down a wood duck bust through, and he went to look for him. And I'm sitting there with his field champion dog, Tom, and he's on the dog stand. I'm sitting on the dog stand, stay warm and dry. And these two old mallard drakes come over, and man, I hit them, blowing the old Haydale's DR85, and I hit them with the best I could, and they turned. And I'll never forget, I had the worst feed call on the planet. I grunted, That was my feed call in the call, but it was bad, but it worked that day. Anyway, they make one turn, come around, hit them one more time, and feed call a little bit, and they give it up less than 10 yards, backpedaling right over the decoys. And I killed both of them with an old 870 that my brother gave me, and sent Tom. Tom went and brought them both back. And I'm sitting there on that stool, and I realized what I had done. Like, you just called your first ducks in.
You became a man that day.
And I turned and look to the left, and there's Harvey Shue with that cigar in his mouth, and he is grinning from ear to ear with pride. And I get goosebumps telling the story because it's so special to me. And it was that was my very first two ducks to ever call in with Harvey, and he was so proud. And he told that story to half the town, just of how proud he was. And same hole. Then there was the same year we had two. This is when the limit was 2, and we had 2 ducks, and we're in that little buckbrush hole, and I'm on the same stand, and Drake and the hen come over. He hit somebody make one turn. He said, "All right, bud. You shoot the front one, I'll shoot the back one." And it sounded like one shot, and they both fall. Boom. We sent Tom. That made our 4 ducks. Again, that's a different hunt, but those are ones I'll never forget. Never. All the times I've been with my daughter and she's killed a deer, that's special. Be sitting there holding her, and we share that moment. And, hunts with my brother. So again, it's hard to pick just one.
Sure.
But those right there are those ones that makes you smile.
That's
Those are
awesome.
the ones you think about.
Well, and this is something, Tristan, I'm going to throw you a curveball. This is something I'm going to start asking everybody on the podcast because go through your setup real quick. So if you're hunting the timber, tell us your gun, your preferred shell size, all that. Just kind of walk us through what your setup is, just so other people can know what you're shooting.
All right. I'm either going to bounce between a little SX4 20 gauge and a Browning Satori 20 gauge. I love those two guns. I'm going to be shooting some Boss 3-inch 5s or 3-inch 6 Warchiefs in the timber. I'm going to be shooting a T2 Rob Roberts choke. It's good in tight, and you can get out there 40, 45 yards and still reach them as they're flying out. I'm going to be blowing my Echo Breaker Rusty Creasy series duck.
I told you guys this guy was important.
Yeah, well, I don't know about that. But I do have a duck call with my name on it.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
about that. yeah, that's
What do you run for?
that's
What's
my
your favorite decoys?
man. I just ordered the Pro Grade XD GH the greenhead gear
Nice.
from Avery. They're the Pro Grade, and you can order. A lot of people don't know this. You can order just drakes.
Oh, wow.
So instead of having all those hens, I'll order a couple of dozen with the hens, but then I'll order about 4 extra dozen of just drakes. I just like those colors.
Do you hear what this guy said? Buy the drakes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I would. I like the drakes. And I get the flocked heads, but the other ones look good as well. I like the flocked heads though. So
Heck yeah, man.
that's my setup. That's my setup. And
Right on.
I run a War Eagle Gladiator.
Yeah, let's go Gladiator War Eagle. That's what I got, Rusty. Oh, this is so badass. I got 750.
Boat. That's a wicked boat. And man, look, all these are good equipment, but
That thing's a
there's
tank,
good people-
bro.
Good. It is, and they're good people, man. The Ward family, Tucker and his dad and uncle, they're fine human beings. And again, that's something like good old Arkansas for you. They're good folks. Good folks.
Yep.
Oh man, thank you.
Anybody you want to give a shout out to? I know you work with a lot of folks and don't feel like it's going to intrude on anything we do here. You want to give a shout out to?
Man, throughout this transition, that was a little something that I wanted to make sure of. And my friends at Bandon and Avery and Realtree all, when I told them about this move, they let me know that they had my back and would support me through whatever. And that says a lot, that they believe in me.
Mm-hmm.
Boss, the same. Everybody, War Eagle, same deal. I ordered a War Eagle boat and I had to change the motor. I'm like, I think I need a shallow drive now instead of a four stroke. And they fixed it right up. So like all my partners, man, they've been great. They're excited about the transition, as am I. And yeah, they ain't nothing like good people, man. And I've really enjoyed visiting with y'all. We've never talked till tonight for y'all listeners. So it's a breath of fresh air to know there's still a few good old boys around.
Yeah, no, felt like I been in the pit with you or in timber with you already, man. I appreciate you and
I appreciate you. I would now I mentioned all these deer. I wouldn't be against climbing a tree with you either.
Yes, sir. No. I've been noticing a few. I got a couple up here on the wall here in the podcast studio, and they've been good, But I've been that teeter-totter type of bow hunter where I've went through phases and changes, and I used to be the meat eater, and then I turned into I'm gonna try to top my mom, which I never could do, and then I got back to the meat eater phase and shot the spike last year, and it was great. And
now you mentioned your mom. I did fail to mention a hunt. So my mom, my Uncle Harvey Shue, that him and my mom, brother and sisters, right? And all her life, she had obviously grew up at the duck club, but had never been in the woods. So a few years ago, we were able to take my mom out.
Oh man, that had to be awesome.
Me and my brother, and then 2 of my best friends and my mom, and we pulled her right up to the hole, and it was raining that day. And I was like, "Mom, you sure you still want to go?" She's like, "Yeah." And, man, we suited her up, and again, man, the good Lord just threw us a bone. The ducks did right. We shot our limit right there in the rain with Mom watching, and it was cool, man. I guess she'll be 80 in March, so I mean she would have been 75, 76 at the time, and yeah, that's up there in the top 10 as well. Ain't nobody ever loved you like your mama. I'm just gonna tell you.
That's right. Well, don't be offended if I shoot you a text when we're in there. We could grab a cup of coffee sometime.
Dude, anytime y'all are this way, I'll give you the tour of the new place. I will tell you the local restaurants we need to eat at, and man, that'd be awesome.
I appreciate that, man.
That sounds great, and hopefully we can catch you out at one of these expos from time to time and hang out.
That's right.
Yes, you've got my number. Save it. And do y'all go to NWTF?
We haven't been yet, but it's not too far from us in Nashville, right?
Right.
Yep.
You need to go because it's turkey stuff, but there's a lot of duck stuff there too, and deer.
It's February, right?
Yeah, February. It is awesome. Last year was my first year to go, and I will never miss it again.
Wow.
It's awesome.
Well, we're
awesome.
We're super excited about hitting. We had an. It was an enlightening experience that we had at the Delta Waterfowl show in Arkansas, and we didn't get to make it this year, just new job changes. But next year it's in Oklahoma City, and we're super excited about that. And all of our friends that we've talked to that have rocked it there have just been super excited about it. We just had Brad Heidel, actually. He's the one that was the mastermind behind it. We just had him on podcast, and we're super excited about getting out there and that, and there might be some news to come on what we're going to be doing at some of these shows, but NWTF.
Yeah, Baton Rouge was good this year. Baton Rouge was real good. I'm looking forward to Oklahoma City. Little Rock was good. I hated to see it go, but I understand why they're moving it around.
Yeah. Sure.
Yep. So,
but yes, I hope our paths cross. You got a friend here in Arkansas when you need one. So,
yes, sir.
Well, thank you very much, Rusty. It's been a blast.
Yep.
Well, I appreciate y'all. Y'all got my number. Keep in touch.
Yeah, we'll tag you on the post.
Sounds good. Thank y'all for having me.
Yes, sir.
brother.
Good night.
I've been southbound, I've been hellbound, riding on the midnight train. Going too fast now, think I'll slow down, standing in the pouring rain.